Hello again everyone. So yeah, today I've got, as you can tell, a lot of parts and pieces here. I got them in today from Dave Parkin. So these are all from his run on the RPF for Obi Wan, A New Hope, motorized stunts, and Luke, Return of the Jedi V2s. So yeah, because I got both kits, there's a lot of parts here that when I was planning on doing this video, I was kind of like, I don't know where to start, because didn't want to jump all over the place and make it too uncohesive for people to listen to. So I thought I'll just go through each kit separately. Like I'll go through the Return of the Jedi kit, all the parts that come with it, then go through the A New Hope kit, all the parts that come with it, and then talk about things about the hilts I know through it as I go along, and then talk about what I'm planning on doing to the hilts. So yeah, I'll start with the Return of the Jedi version. So, as you can tell, it's so well machined. Like, just look how crisp and clean all that is. So yeah, I opted in for the damage. Like, he offered like commissions to do the sort of pommel damage and the emitter damage to get all the dents. So I took him up on that because I didn't trust myself to do the emitter dents. The damage on the bottom would have been fine to do. It's just the hitting this, like heating it up to try and then hit it to try and get the dents in the right spots, and just I would worry about damaging it too much or breaking something. And so yeah, and I saw all the work and effort David put in to make jigs to get it perfect to do it. So I thought, yeah, trust Dave to do it, because as you can tell, he does amazing work. Because I've got his Yuma as well, and that is one of my favourites. It's just such a great hilt. And the good thing about Dave's as well, they feel nice and hefty because he makes them to match as close as possible to the real props. So they are like as solid where they should be solid, and then they're hollow where they should be hollow. And they just, yeah, it feels legit because it's almost legit. It's like having the real prop almost. So yeah, and also Dave cut the neck here because with a lot of the research that was happening in the thread about, originally this was going to be separate anyway, but with just different talks and different sort of theories about how the prop started out to how it ended up, they went with how the prop would have been solid, like the neck would have been solid all the way through. But because that's such a weak point there, that at some point it snapped, which then causes it to spin. So the A New Hope one here is solid and isn't cut. Well, the V2 is. So yeah, Dave offered to do that. And there's a little, like, I think it's like a polycarbonate or something like that washer here that kind of is like, I'll take this apart actually later on and show how that sits. But it's kind of like a washer, but it's also got a extended sort of like piece that goes down inside so that it kind of slots into the kind of wind vane area. That just stops some of the friction from when this spins, that it doesn't rub against, the metal isn't rubbing against each other. And it also helps fill in that gap that was lost from the hacksaw when it was cut in half. Well, when it was cut, you lose the little groove material that was in there. So that washer helps fill that out. So you're moving down on this, you can see the uneven rings. It's harder to see the uneven rings without it painted and stuff because it's all just all aluminium, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, there's definitely, like, you can see these ones are closer together and that one's further apart and stuff like that. And you can also, which I noticed, that the grooves go down deeper in different parts. Like this one here is deeper than this one, and these two are roughly about the same. But yeah, that one's deeper. This one's a little less deep than this one. And yeah, I really like that. It's such subtle details that it just shows the amount of effort and research that Dave's put into this, which he is great because he's put all of that up on a research thread, like a research development thread on the RPF, where he goes through all the sort of photos that he's using for reference and all the sort of different theories and sort of like things that they can deduct from photos, and doing like renderings over the photos so that to try and match it up perfectly. So yeah, it's just so much detail that they've managed to find. And how they're not perfect V's in the channels either. They're kind of either rounded and they've got like a flatter bits inside them. So yeah, they're all different. And yeah, just add so much, just those little bits of detail that just add so much more legitness to this. Make it feel so much more like the real prop than if it was all kind of more idealized. Same with this, there's a groove here, which I think is a seam line that is in, you can see on some of the wooden blocks that they used as they used as a sort of base to make these. That there's a kind of a seam line here, so that seems to carry over onto Dave's model here as well, which is great. I think there's also supposed to be one here. I'm not sure though. That's not present on this, I don't think. But yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I know I can remember seeing things about this one. And then there's the booster with the threaded hole there for the cone knob. And then the hole here for the mystery chunk, or the sort of wader boot stud. And then there's the cubes. All really well machined as well, with some machining marks still in it, which is accurate to the prop, because the prop, according to, I think it's Brandon Allinger that owns the prop, said there's a lot of machine marks all over it. So yeah, seeing those little machine marks in there is great. Same with this little milling mark and stuff that's in here. And then sort of all the pommel damage and sort of dinks and dents and chips and stuff. It's great. This is so, yeah, it's just so great. And I think anything else I want to go over on this one. I'm trying to decide whether to disassemble them on here, just with all the other stuff I've got lying around. I'll probably disassemble them at the end of the video. I'll go over the A New Hope one, then I'll move some of the stuff out of the way, then I can do some disassembly. So yeah, the other stuff that comes with the Return of the Jedi kit, you get a clamp, which is a Roman props clamp. So one of the best, if not the best, replica clamp. Nice and shiny as well. So I'm not sure if this is a chrome one or is like bright satin. So I'm not sure. I think it's the bright satin one, but I could be wrong. It's just very shiny, so it could be the chrome as well. Obviously the levers will get changed to the long lever, which is, originally this kit wouldn't have arrived yet because the levers, when Dave got them in, were made wrong, so they were the wrong kind of profile, so they went back to get remade. So, but Dave offered to ship out the kits to people without the levers, just so they can get them quicker, and then once the levers arrive, we'll then ship them out. So I opted in for that just because I'm impatient and I really wanted to see the kits, because Dave does great work and I really wanted to, yeah, just get my hands on them and have a look and just, yeah, get myself hyped up to finish them. So yeah, it's the clamp, just Graphics clamp. And then there's also D-ring, which I'm sure is a Wonga D-ring. And then we've got Sloth Furnace clamp card. This is vintage finish one. Also has the V3 one on the back, which I didn't know. So yeah. And then got Dave P's cone knob, which I'll take this out actually. Have a better look at it. So yeah, here's Dave P's cone knob if it focuses. So one part of the cone knob I didn't know was, I think, this sort of chamfer on the bottom. I never noticed that on any of the things I've seen of the cone knob. But maybe, I suppose, a lot of time you see them like this, so you never really would see that. So yeah, so Dave modelled this off of a vintage one, so I'd imagine it's as close to a vintage, because I know the vintages do vary, so it's as close to the vintage that Dave got to do this. But yeah, it's really well made, really nice knurling. It's not too jaggy, like it doesn't feel sore when you touch it or anything. It's nice, just nice knurling. And then this set screw does unscrew and go in, just like the original ones. And then this screws into there. Then you also get a vintage like boot stud. So this one's in great condition, because Dave said most of them are like A grade ones. So yeah, nice and detailed, and still got all its edges. Because I have a cone knob, I have a boot stud mystery chunk on my other V2, which is a vintage as well, but that's much more worn down. So you don't see a lot of the ridge kind of knurling on top. Yeah. So yeah, that's everything I think for the Return of the Jedi one. Well, there's also the stencils as well down here. When it comes to the stencils, I'm thinking of doing a mixture of using these stencils, doing hand chipping of the paint, and also using, because I have a set of Trooper Trent stencils as well that I haven't used, but I'm not sure if they'll fit on here or not, because yeah, I'm not sure what the dimensions are like. I'll mess around with that and see how that works out. But yeah, I'll probably use a amalgamation of different ones, these stencils, Trooper Trents, and some hand done stuff as well. Okay, so now I'll move on to the A New Hope motorized stunt. Yeah, this one's a lot heavier than the Return of the Jedi, I think because this one has the motor in it, so that really adds a lot of extra weight. And this one doesn't have any of the damage, because by this point the prop was new, so that it didn't have lots of the damage on it. So this one's nice and crisp. Same exact thing as this, just done up in A New Hope. So this one has the screw here to hold the motor, which the Return of the Jedi doesn't, which I think the real prop would have this screw, or several screws depending, I'm not sure how much screws are under the clamp to hold the motor, but there's none on the Return of the Jedi kit here. But I suppose it doesn't have to be, because that one's not designed to have the motor in it, although it does, it's the same internal dimensions and stuff, so you could put the motors and stuff in there. You would just need to drill and tap one of these screws to hold it in, and you could do the same sort of setup as this. But yeah, like I said, this one's not cut here, it's still solid, and the bit that spins is the sort of nipple area. So that sort of spins inside there. I haven't wired any of this up yet, so obviously I haven't wired it up. But yeah, it does spin in there. And yeah, there's no pommel damage either. Nice and clean. There's also no mill mark, like on the New Hope or on the Return of the Jedi. There's like a milling circle. There's none of that on here. I thought there would be, just because I would imagine the mill mark is on the prop when it's A New Hope, but I could be wrong. Maybe they re-milled or remachined some of it by the time it got to later on in productions. By the time they got to Return of the Jedi, maybe they had done more machining and that's when the mill mark appeared, but I'm not sure. And this one has the longer rod on it so that you can slide the blade on. So yeah, the blade would slide on. I've had trouble getting my blade on fully. Like my blade seems to only want to go down a certain amount into it. Like when I slide it on, it goes to about here and it gets a bit stuck, a bit kind of too jammed. I don't want to really force it down in case I can't get it off easy. So I'll just sort of, yeah, I'll mess around with that and see how I'm best supposed to put that in there. Let's take it back off. Because the way it fixes on, it's got like a, I'll put this down for 2 seconds. It's got like a piece of rubber, kind of, I'm not sure what, it's just like a rubber kind of tube that's inside there. It seems to be just adding friction when you slide the blade on, or you slide the blade onto the rod. So rather than having sort of like a little piece of metal here with a set screw that would then screw into the plate, screw through and hit on the rod, they've opted for just having a friction fit, which I quite like actually, having the friction fit, because it leaves it nice and like clean looking when the blade's installed, rather than having an extra thing above the hilt that would have like a set screw to hold this on. So, and then what else do we get? Obviously we get a clamp again as well, which will obviously, yeah, need the lever as well, the new long levers. And then it's a bubble strip from Wonawonga, like his newer one, with the sort of like angled edges. And then the D-ring again as well, same one from Wonawonga. And then all the sort of parts here for wiring it up. So you've got the switch. And you've got a lot of these, I don't know what these are called, because I've never actually wired anything up with these before, so I'm assuming these go into these, and then these plug into these and like contact them, I think. I'll just do a bit more research before I wire it up. And then the cable will get wired to these, I'm assuming. And then also to the battery box, because there's this plug on the battery box, which I think I need to cut this, but I'm going to double check. But I think I need to cut this and then separate these two cables and wire them to these, and then attach it to these clips, which then I'd use more of this wire from the hilt motor coming out that are also attached to some of these, and then they connect together via these. That's how I'm imagining it goes together, because it should be fairly straightforward. I think it's just two cables going between this and that, like a negative and a positive, just to sort of like send the power through. So, but I'll make sure I do it right before I do any of it. And I don't know what this is for. It's like a piece of foam with like a double-sided tape on it. So I think this is for maybe wrapping around the motor to stop some friction so that it doesn't rattle against inside, but I'm not sure, because the motor's already installed. But I could just take it out, but yeah, I think that might be what this is for. It's the only thing I could think it would be for. It was in with the stencils, but that could have just been for safety, for transport, so that it doesn't get too damaged. What else I want to go over? Oh yeah, the blade, actually, yeah, I didn't really talk about the blade much, other than the kind of rubber part inside. But yeah, it's got this sort of pinstripe up it, So it's got like a kind of vinyl and then a sort of reflective, sort of sparkly tape on here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I've not tried it with a flash under it or anything, or a flash on top of it and stuff to make it see if it glows. But and it's also got like a little tip protector on here, which I can just take off. But I'm not. Yeah, so I'm just leave it on for now. Just stop it damaging the top. So yeah, these are made of carbon fiber. Because originally Dave was going to get them made out of wood, but when the machinist was making the wooden ones, it was really hard. I think he was finding it really hard to get them straight and not warp any. Because like I remember there was a video Dave posted an update with the blade spinning, like the wooden blade, and it was because of just the slight warping in the wood, it was wobbling, and it looked, once you spin it, you can really see the wobble. So Dave ended up opting to find another solution and found these tapered carbon fiber blades. So yeah, they taper up smaller here and then get larger down to here. And yeah, these will be much more durable than the wooden ones would be. So I'm glad the blades are made of these. So I was a wee bit worried about the wooden ones in case they damaged or split or cracked or anything over time. I mean, not that you would be hitting this against anything really. Like you can even tell in A New Hope they're being a bit more gentle with it because of the mechanics to do this. They weren't wanting to whack them against each other in case they broke, which could have been how they broke, like, and how they started like falling apart, and how like the V2, there was like, yeah, because the V3 didn't really work much. Well, at least I don't know how much they used that as a stunt, as a motorized stunt anyway, and things. So yeah, they probably were being really careful with these back in the day. So I plan on not hitting it against anything. So but even then, this carbon fiber will make it even more durable. Just in case I accidentally hit something, then I don't have to worry about it cracking the wood. Carbon fibers tend to be quite strong. So what I'll do is I'll move some of the stuff out of the way and take apart the hilts just so you can see a wee bit of the inside. So yeah, I'll just slide some of the parts off to the side. So yeah, I'll take apart the. I'll start with the motorized one. So yeah, the pommel is held on with this one screw here. So you just undo this a little bit, and then you can just slide off the pommel, which is a nice solid piece. Like everything from like almost but the cubes down is just solid. So it's great. I keep saying everything's great, but it's just it's just so nice and chunky and heavy. And then inside there you can see the back end of the motor. If we can get it to focus, there we go. So you can see the contacts. I'm assuming that's what I would wire the negative and the positive to. I think it's a negative and positive. But yeah, so yeah, plenty of room in there for wiring it up and then feeding the wires through. So yeah, the wires come through the pommel hole, like the one that ends up being the mystery trunk hole. And the switch is on the cone knob hole. And yeah, Dave widened it. I think this hole's wider than the hole on this one. Yeah. So you widened the hole slightly and like took away the threading. Or maybe it's just drilling it out and removing the threading that makes it look bigger. But yeah, it just worked out better for the switch. Because yeah, just getting the switch to fit in and come through okay. So Yeah, I'll just shove this back on now, then I'll then inside the Return of the Jedi one. But it's the same, I mean, it's the same inside, just one just doesn't have the motor inside it. Oh no, it's got the rod's longer. Well, I don't know if the rod is longer, or this rod's just further up and sticking out further that side, but this one is just inside. So yeah, the rod's in there. I'm not putting these back on in the right orientation for the cubes or anything right now, but I'll do that later. So just putting them back on for now. And then same with the emitter up here. To remove this, I just take off. What do I remove to take off that? Oh yeah, take off the. If I unscrew these screws in the nipple, it will release the rod, and then you'll be able to slide the emitter off. And then the rod slid down. But yeah, you can see this little thing I was talking about earlier. It's like a washer, but it's got like a long sort of tube on the end of it, and it's a wee bit of electrical tape around it. I think that's just to help make sure it fits the width in here well. So yeah, that just helps stop friction, because without that, you'd end up with like this would be too low down, I think, and it just would be right up against it and be a bit. Yeah, you'd need that wee bit of a gap there. So slide that back down. Slide that back on. So doing that. I'm just tipping upside down to slide the rod back up so the rod's in the right place. Don't want to hit the camera over with us. And just tighten the screws a wee bit. Yeah, and there we go. Back on. Spinnable. So yeah, that's, I think, pretty much all I can think to go over right now on these. Well, actually, one more thing. While I have it, I could just caught it out of the corner of my eye. I've got my, this is a KR Gen 1, like his first run of V2s. So this is like, just to sort of like a quick comparison, just for to end the video off. So this is KR's next to Dave P's. Dave P's is slightly longer, ever so slightly. Like, it's going to be hard to, just with the way I've done this camera setup, to show that. I'll try and get them. So yeah, it's going to be kind of hard. But yeah, this is slightly longer, like ever so slightly. It's like not much at all. It's probably the width of this, like the width of the emitter plate. It's probably the width of that longer. But overall, they actually are quite like similar length, like overall wise, if you look at them. But I think a lot of V2s are getting quite similar to each other, just for all the research that people do. I mean, there's differences, like the bottom, like the, what do you call it? The sort of cap at the bottom is thicker on the KR. And there's like the gap here is thicker, or like wider, I think. I also think Dave P's feels thicker, like when you grip it, like it feels a bit thicker than the KR one. I don't want to go too much depth of like a comparison because I'm going to go over this one separately one day. Just so yeah. So I'll finish up the video now. So yeah, these are great kits. Like I'm so happy with them, and I can't wait to sort of get cracking on making them, or like weathering them up and painting them and getting them all done. So I plan on doing the A New Hope first, just because it's a bit more straightforward of a paint job, and I'm really excited to get the blade spinning. So yeah, I really want to see that because this feels so much like a piece of the production that I really want to get that up and running and just see what that looks like in person. And then I'll go on to the V2 after that. So yeah, I hope this wasn't too rambly and too all over the place when it came to like an overview. Or not overall, it's not even an overview, it's more just like a initial reaction to the parts, I suppose, and the because I was going to do an unboxing but decided against that. Just I saw the size of the box and the amount of things that were in it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't do an unboxing because it would probably have been a disaster of a video. So, and at first I had no idea what to talk about first or what to even look at first. There was just so much. So it was good that I had a wee bit more time just to sort of process and sort of like get used to these and sort of. I mean, I still don't know everything about them. I'll probably come across more stuff about these as I look at them and as I work on them. And which I'll then, because I'm planning on future doing videos on both of these anyway. So I'll do a separate video once I finish them up and I'll go over any new things that I found. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll try and do some more videos again soon. I might even do Dave P's Yuma as my next video, just since I'm in that Dave P mode. So yeah, so great work, Dave. These are amazing. So can't wait to get started on them, and I'll see you